Hello students, welcome to Scholar, your one-stop solution to IAS preparation. So this video is a continuation of the part 1 of chapter 1 of Political Theory NCERT textbook of class 11th. So the chapter's name was Political Theory and Introduction, right? So in last video we had covered probably half of that chapter 1, and in this part 2 we'll be talking about rest half of that chapter, political theory and introduction. So in last chapter broadly we have talked about what is politics and what do we study in political theory, why is it important, and what kind of questions it sort of attempts to answer, right? So this is what we have done till now. Let us proceed ahead. So students, in this textbook, as we have explained, that we are focusing on origins, meaning, significance, etc. of different political concepts, origins, meaning, and significance of concepts like freedom, equality, justice, things like that. Now, as we have discussed in last part of this chapter, part 1 of this chapter, we ended our discussion by explaining how this evolution of the meaning of these concepts is a perpetual process, right? We can attempt to systematically think, but there is no final answer to these questions. Okay, what is equality? Nobody can answer with finality. So in this part 2, what we are going to do, that we will take one particular ideal, that is equality, and then we will go deeper into it understanding, right? We will go deeper into understanding equality so that we can explain what we had discussed in part 1 of this chapter, various aspects of equality, various interpretations equality, why different ideals are important, and how with time different dimensions have been added to the idea of equality, right? So first of all, if we go by simple experience, forget about any scholarly understanding or political theoretical reading, if we simply go by experience, it comes to our intuition that equality means equal opportunity for all. We want similar kind of treatment, that we should not be discriminated. That is something that can come from our within, from our intuition itself, that we should be given equal opportunity if we say that there is equality, right? But it also comes from our intuition that we don't feel bad if they are old and disabled people and we are giving them special treatment. We are not treating them equally, or we don't seek competition with them. We don't seek that we should treat disabled people, old people, or a woman with a newborn baby, and things like that, or old women in a bus. We don't feel that we should be competing with them on an equal pedestal. That's very natural to us. It comes from within, from human nature, that we feel somewhere that it is justified that special treatment is given to different kind of people, right? That is a product of our sensitivity, and that we feel that it is not fair that some people in society are not also have basic needs satisfied. So we feel that there should be no undue advantage to some people, neither there should be sorry, undue exploitation to some people. These are senses of equality, this concern for fairness, or this concern for a special treatment for certain section of society comes from within. This idea of fairness is somewhere embedded in our minds. So we see that despite there are a lot of provisions in our society, in our constitution, that we should have right to primary education for all, right? Now, this right is a formal right. What is meaning of the term formal? Formal basically means that it is there in the letter. This is our commitment according to law, that law will not discriminate or state will not discriminate. But the next question that should arise in our mind, that is it enough? Is it enough that we are giving right to primary education to all, that nobody can be discriminated, but Is stopping discrimination enough? No, it is not enough, because if we just go back to our previous slide, we see that there are people in our society whose basic needs are not satisfied. For instance, you must have visited some slum in your locality or in the slum locality. You will see that there are children who are either babysitting their siblings or who are working as maid in some other house at the same time when a child of a similar age is going to school. So we see that this commitment to primary education in law is not enough, because that child is also not debarred from going to school. But not debarring is not enough. So we intuitively feel that government should do more for such children and their parents. Because why do some children work as maid or as domestic help? Or why some young girls are retained at home while their co-aged brothers go to school? Because this is how our society functions. We need money to survive, and poor people look at their children in as a human resource, that if we have two more children, they can be four more hands to help. They can work as domestic help. Also, if mother and father both are working as laborers, they need somebody to take care of their child, and here patriarchy comes in. So we see conclusively that we need to understand that idea of equality is quite complex. It is not as simple as we wish it to be. So we think that if we are in a playground, we want equal opportunity. But if we are disabled, we want special provisions to be made. So what does this mean? This particular example means that our location in life, or the kind of position that we are in, if we are in favorable position, we want formal equality, that everybody should be treated equal. We attempt to disown our advantage, natural advantage, that we are rich. We don't want to accept that. But if we are at back foot, if we are disabled, or if we have lack of money, or if we are in a marginalized position in the society, we underline this historical disadvantage or natural disadvantage, and then we say that equality should mean special provisions should also be made, right? So if you look at this cartoon that I've added in this slide, that you see that there are three people, but they are not on same lines. Some person is ahead and some person is back. Now, if they start from this point in the race, of course, the person who is here, who is at this line, will be having a this much advantage as compared to this person who is at rear end of this diagram. So we need to make sure that this added advantage is made up. The second person should not suffer because of this advantage that was there for the first person in the room. And this is where the idea of affirmative action comes in. We will explain it in the coming slides. So as of now, we understand that equal opportunity is not enough. The point is that there should be fair distribution of resources also. If we don't have resource, suppose I don't have money, I cannot purchase food, I cannot purchase books, I cannot purchase school uniform, I cannot pay for the transportation, then that right to primary education is meaningless for me, right? It is meaningless for me. I should not be penalized for economic class of my parents, and that's where the requirement is felt that there should be some agency which is made responsible to ensure fairness, and this is fairness. We need to make up this gap. The gap between these two lines need to be made up, and that is what is expected by the idea of fairness, right? Now, how does it help? The question arises again. Even if we understand these things, that no, equality is a very complex idea, or formal equality is not enough, there are people who are at naturally disadvantaged position, as we discussed in past previous slides. But how is it important? How does this understanding help us? Now, again, as we discussed in last lecture also, these are practical consideration. These are practical consideration and they manifest into our public policy, right? If existing government has a very broader understanding of equality, has a complex understanding of equality, naturally it will factor in those consideration in its policy on education and employment and other policies similarly. So the kind of understanding that one has about these ideals like politics, political justice, equality, liberty, secularism, nationalism, that is going to dictate our policy making, right? So political theorists or people who are engaged in political theorization engage in everyday opinions and debates are there, right? And they discuss various options of policy. Why we say policy option? Because if there is no one understanding of equality, liberty, justice, then of course there will be no similar conclusion about policy also. There will be various policy which will be competing with each other. Some people feel, for instance, that private education should be there. Some people feel that no, private education is bad for poor people. Some people feel that state should fund the election. Some other people feel that state should not give funding to political parties. So each of these people have their own explanations. Hence, there are policy options and not only one policy. Now, it is political theory that helps us conclude that which policy is a better policy, right? Now, again, a question arises from our perspective, the reader's perspective, that even if we have certain political ideas and we understand that they are important, why do we need to study political theory as a discipline? How is it going to help us as a person in our career or some other way? Apart from a philosophical clarity, what is the utility of studying political theory? That is our question. And then somebody associates that why is it important apart from politicians, bureaucrats, activists, lawyers, or professors? Should not it be limited to these people? Like politicians have a purpose to study political theory. Bureaucrats are executing policies. Activists are demanding government to make certain policies. Lawyers are fighting cases associated with our fundamental rights and other such rights. Professors have to teach. But why do we, as in students of political theory, what is the utility of this discipline for us? Why do we need to study, right? So there are, of course, multiple reasons I can give you for which or because of which we need to understand political theory. First of all, in our future, we can pick up any of these professions. We can choose to become a political science philosopher. We can choose to become constitutional lawyer. We can also choose to become activist lawyers or some activist intellectuals. We can choose to become civil servants. And then with there, our knowledge of political theory will be of help. If if being a civil servant, we understand what is human right, let's say, or we understand what is injustice, we understand what is inequality, then that understanding is going to reflect or get manifested into our policy making, into our policy execution, or day-to-day official decisions that we take, right? So this is one of the reasons of studying political theory. Secondly, even if suppose let's say somebody is going to become a photographer, none of these professions he is interested in, then what is utility for that person? Again, we must not forget that before anything else, we have to vote. We have to vote. Being a citizen, we have to vote in the elections. Now, if we have understanding of political theory, we will be able to evaluate the political ideas and we will be able to have an opinion on what kind of political institutions should be there and how do they shape the world in which we live. So if we have a knowledge of these things, we will be more in a better position, we will be more clear about whom to vote and on what considerations, right? So their political theory will be of help, right? Otherwise, if we don't have a political theoretical understanding, we will simply having our arbitrary preferences. As we explained in lecture 1 of this chapter, part 1, that they will be our prejudices, our opinions, layman understanding, and we will arbitrarily exercise our preferences. But if we have to make our decisions more thoughtful and more mature, then it is important that we have the understanding of political theory, right? So, conclusively, it makes us more educated and vigilant, right? Vigilant in fulfilling the responsibility of our citizenship, right? And if we do our voting, exercise our rights in this way, we will make politics a more public spirited enterprise, right? We said in the last lecture that some people associate politics with a pejorative connotation. It is for these people that they understand politics, they understand political theory, and enforce a better kind of politics and make it more public spirited, right? Then again, these are not abstract issues in our life. We see that there are debates of secularism going on right now between France, Turkey, Pakistan, India. There are debates on freedom of speech and expression. There are debates on reservation and what kind of equality should be there. So we see that we what political theory does, it encourages us to examine our ideas and feelings. And what happens if somebody is so extremist in their thinking? We see what is happening in France. People are killing each other to defend their own value system. Somebody has a very rigid kind of fundamentalism. Somebody is very fundamentalist about their freedom of speech and expression. So it is never good for our society, and we have to moderate our ideas and feeling. And how does one moderate one's idea and feeling? When we are aware of the various aspects of an issue, right? If we are more learned, if we are more reflective, if we know nuances associated with these kind of political ideals, then there is less chance that we will be adamant on our position. And if we are not adamant on our position, there is a possibility of more peace in the society, right? Again, if we are able to do systematic thinking, as I explained in the last lecture, political theory helps us to undertake systematic thinking on various ideals, be it justice or equality. Then we can think for the sake of common interest. Suppose I have not deeper clarity about how exploitation goes in the society, then I will assume that there is no requirement of a special protection, let's say. But having studied political theory, if I know that how women or Dalits or transgenders have been subjugated in our society, it is evident that when I have to make policy or when I vote, I'll be more considerate about those people. I'll be more sensitive about those people and their special necessities. So, political theory can, if we want, if we are sensitive enough, can elevate our understanding from individual self-interest for the sake of common interest, right? So this is a great asset in the global information order, because today on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we see different people are competing with their ideas. They are coming out in the open. They are writing what they feel about different political and social issues. In that case, it is important to accommodate different kind of views. It is not possible that we will remain isolated in our silos about what we think, right? So these are certain uh, advantages of studying political theory. It is not to be seen as something which is limited to serious old philosophers or professors or politicians. It is all pervasive, as we have been discussing in the last video also, that this is something which is present in our everyday life. On every nook and corner of our life, we encounter issues related to freedom, issues related to equality, In our India today, there is a lot of debate going on secularism. We often read about issues like Adivasi rights. We talk about environmental issues. So these issues are not textbook issues. That's the whole thing I've been trying to explain. These are not textbook issues. These are issues, if we read in textbook, that will help us better reflect upon everyday working of these concepts, right? We will be better able to evaluate the working of the government in power. If we are able to evaluate, sorry, if we are better able to evaluate the working of the government, it is natural that we will be better able to vote and control the functioning of the government. It will make us better citizens also. So these are various reasons that political theory becomes a very important discipline. And day by day, we see that new challenges are coming, as we have written in global information order. New issues of privacy, new issues of state surveillance, new issues of data privacy is coming, right? So expression is increasing. Women are coming out in the open, writing on the Facebook. Transgender are out in the open. So these new assertions also create new challenges, and it is not possible that we will stick with our old understanding. We keep renewing our thinking to deal with these kind of emerging issues, right? So students, we are concluding this chapter 1 in this part 2. Let us have a look at certain questions and just let us see if we are able to handle these questions after listening to these 2 lectures. First question is, vigilant citizens are a must for the working of a democracy. Vigilant citizens are a must for the successful working of a democracy. I think I've explained this very elaborately, how vigilant citizens are formed, what makes a citizen vigilant, how political theory helps us become more vigilant and active citizens, and how that is related to the working of a democracy, how we hold the government more accountable for its decisions, and what are the methods that are available to citizens in holding the government accountable and successful working of a democracy. The next question is, in what ways is the study of political theory helpful to us? So identify 4 ways in which it can be helpful to us. If you just go back to last few minutes and last few slides, you will see that I have very elaborately explained to you there are various utilities also and there are various duties also. It is not only that there are certain utility only of political theory. Utility is of course there, but to make a better citizenry also, it is important that we study political theory. So students, you can look at this particular objective question also. Now we conclude this discussion and I will summarize briefly what we have done in this last 2 lectures. So we have understood that political theory deals with very serious issues like justice, equality, liberty, secularism, nationalism, and these are the issues that have a common presence in our everyday life, but which have very serious implications also, right? Which have very serious implications for our life, and it is not something which should be left to the government, academicians, bureaucrats, activists. It is the duty of every citizen of this world to understand these political concepts because they have ever presence in our life, right? So we will continue with our discussion in coming videos. Uh, here is our conclusion for this particular chapter. In this next video, we will follow up the chapters of this particular book itself. Thank you so much. I hope it helps.